Okay. All right. I'm just going to put up a quick presentation. So welcome again, everyone, and I hope you're having a great Sunday. I hope you're having a great Sunday, and that you're, enjoying the day. So let's start with our presentation as we this year talk about emancipation. Oh, and not RUMS, but cricket.
This whole minute I seem to have. Okay.
Pardon?
Go ahead.
There we go. There we go. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So with the Caribbean Coalition, happy to have everybody here to talk about cricket, and happy to have our the president of the Guyanese Cultural Association to lead us into this discussion. Okay. This is the members of the coalition. We are 7 strong. There's most of our islands that are here represented, except for Dominica today, but they're not possible for the president and members of that team to be with us today. But the coalition is represented at this time by 7 Caribbean nations that include Guyana, Jamaica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica, and Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. These are the members that represent the coalition. And as you see here, from the Julian Barrington right down to Rosamond Ryan, who make up the 14 members of the coalition to date. About us, we are proud to display our logo. This is who we are. This is the approved logo for the Caribbean Coalition Network of Montreal, or CCNM. And the aim of this organization and this coalition is to really strengthen the bonds amongst these different groups, the island organizations, to have a stronger voice through this connection. Furthermore, to create the opportunities to share knowledge and offer support, which we do, and we've been together for the last 2.5 years doing just that. We do events such as the Emancipation and other events, and we are very proud to be able to work together and collaboratively to make a number of the events happen, and more to be announced shortly. And as for the logo, we decided not to put our flags because the coalition can grow and we can have more Caribbean nations as part of this organization. So this is why we kept symbols of the Caribbean, such as the ones that is also behind me in the screen, but the palm trees, the water, and definitely the coconut with a straw in it. So today, our presentation that is going to be given by Liebert Sanko from the Guyana Cultural Association of Montreal will focus on cricket and how that plays into the Caribbean and emancipation. Now, this is our agenda for today. There's 2 more people here. This is the agenda for the day, the introduction. We talked a little bit about the Caribbean, the coalition, the history of the Caribbean, the history of cricket in the Caribbean. And this is where I'll ask Liebert to jump in, Mr. Sanko to jump in and talk about the game itself. How do you play it? What is this about clothes, the clothes that you wear that seems like woolly material in the Caribbean? And why do they drink tea at 4 p.m.? And essentially, why are the games over a number of days, sometimes 3 days? What is a test match? All that fun stuff that seem kind of bizarre, because in other games that we watch, it's over in 4 hours. And that's sometimes a long, long time. But a cricket match goes on for days. So why is that? The West Indies team, how have they done and how are they doing? And actually, who are the predominant team now in the game of cricket? We know that it's in India, we know that it's in colonized nations, but who are the stars today? And we'll talk about, we'll have that discussion about who we believe are the superstars of the game. Cricket in Montreal, because there is still cricket in Montreal, but with the West Indian group, maybe not as much. And last but not least, the idea of, and not only the idea, but women in cricket. We don't generally see that, but from discussions that were held before, we understand that there were teams that comprised of women in the Caribbean. So a little bit of a brief history, something that I've found out, and maybe those in the call can also, lend their knowledge to this, was that, like we saw last year with rum, and that rum was first distilled in Barbados. Barbados has a seemingly second historical note, where cricket was first played in the 1700s in Barbados. It was brought to the Caribbean by the British, and the slaves were only allowed at that time to go into the very nettled cane fields to get the ball. They weren't allowed to play in the game. But over time, and maybe not that too far ago, you saw more Black people playing in the game. Maybe 50 years ago, and I can be corrected. Mr. Sanko knows a little bit more about the history. I've been only read about the history, but Mr. Sanko can correct me on that one, where the game of cricket really started to emerge and where more people, diverse people, were playing the game of cricket. So with that, Mr. Sanko, I'm gonna turn the floor over to you.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Inviting me to talk on something that I really, really love, and especially the origin of the game. I read a long time ago that when the British sailors went to the South Sea Islands, Tahiti especially, they saw the natives playing a sort of a game with using the small breadfruit and these sort of sticks or bats. And they were playing a game that they were so enthusiastic about it that even the white folks got into looking at it, and they liked it so much that they sort of, when they got back, they sort of tried to emulate and found that they can improve upon it. So the Englishmen started to fool around with it. And when they visited India, they saw something not too far different. So all in all, what we're saying, it is not something that originated in England, but it was something that was seen somewhere else and brought to England. It is like the white man came to North America and saw the Indians playing on the ice. And out of it, they created ice hockey. Yeah. So cricket found its way into the West Indies because of the planters. The white planters, when they came there, they saw it as a type of recreation, and they played purely among themselves. They would not allow the slaves to play. Yes, you can throw the ball in from outside the boundary, you can look on, but you're not holding the bats and swinging it and playing the game. But the game spread so quickly all through the Caribbean as soon as emancipation came about. It was one of the things that the slaves or freed slaves saw as a way not only to emulate the masters, but to enjoy themselves. So cricket started in that way. In the meantime, it did not grow, the game did not grow exclusively in the Caribbean, but especially in other British territories. India, well, there was no Pakistan then, Ceylon, and so on. And that is how the game got to spread. How did this game influence the Caribbean? After they played so many times among themselves, somebody got a bright idea, maybe we should play with some other people from other countries, from other islands. And maybe that's how it spread to these various islands. And out of it grew a nationalism where each island or territory vie for supremacy in the game. Although you vie for supremacy in the game, they learn to respect each other, especially their prowesses in the game. And as such, it forged friendships among people from different territories. I can tell you in the Caribbean that the game had got to such a limit, or such a level, that in 1928, the West Indies played its first test match against England. And when I use the word test match, what we know about test match now, it's 5 days. I knew when it was 6 days, but I can also tell you that I read where there were times the game was played on to the end. It can go 7, 8, 9 days. And as a matter of fact, a game was being played against England in the West Indies, and they had to stop it after 8, 9 days because the ship to take the English players back to England was waiting in the harbors for 2, 3 days. So they had to stop the game and let the guys go home. So that is the idea of how time came into the game. They realized that is not a workable way to play a game to the end. So they started putting time limits. And 6 days became 5 days because the games were too long drawn out, where people were not, what should I say, trying to win. They were always trying to save the game. And the main proponent of that were the Englishmen. And some of you would remember they say that England would rather lose a battleship than lose a test match. They did say that, right? So this is what happened. Therefore, the game in the Caribbean lend itself to friendship, camaraderie, and a way of showing each nation that it in itself can strive to be a champion. And by doing that, they knew who were the great players or better players within the Caribbean. So when there was a time to pick a West Indies team, however, I don't know the story why they decide that the West Indies should come together as a group and play. But when they decide to do that, they knew where to find the top players. They knew what country. And that is how this game affected, in my opinion, the Caribbean. And it has left a lasting connection where if you talk to any person who knows the game or loves the game in any country, any territory in the Caribbean, they will be able to tell you who are the best players in whatever country there is. Now, let us look at it from a point of view as to how well, how good some of our players were. And feel free later on to jump into a discussion with this. As far as I can see, we go back to records where a batsman was judged by his batting average. And the greatest batsman, or the batsman with the highest average that ever played cricket for the West Indies, is Sir George Headley. And he's a very strange one, because one, he was not even born in the West Indies. He's a Panamanian by birth. His Jamaican parents were working, building the canal, the Panama Canal. And he was born there, grew up there for a while. And the first game he was playing was baseball, not cricket. But he found when he turned to cricket, he was also good at it. In so much, the batting standard of those days was Sir Donald Brodman, the Australian. And they used to say to him that he's the black Brodman. But the Australian says, no, Brodman is a white Headley. He was that good. He is the only batsman in the West Indies that had a higher batting average of 60 plus. Can you imagine that every time you walk to the wicket on an average, you're making 60 runs? God, our West Indies would wish if they could have some of that now. And the next to him was one of my favorite West Indian batsmen by the name of Sir Everton Weekes. He scored an average of 58 plus. And I had the great honor of sitting in his house many years ago in Barbados discussing cricket. And it still rings true in my head what he said to me. He said, the present West Indian cricketer do not like to bat. And that was his opinion. They like to score runs. I paused for a while and I studied the philosophy. And he's right. The majority of West Indian batsmen go in there and they want to knock 6 right away. He said, when we go into the wicket, we want to bat whole day, make the bowlers tired, embarrass them. But these guys just make it too easy. So that is what has happened to cricket in the Caribbean, that it has evolved. Even from the time where people want to stay on and bat, stay on and bowl, they want quick results. Hence, T20, one day, and all of that suit the present day cricketers. And I don't think the older guys would have loved this. I like to hear the sound of my voice, but sometimes I think I should take an alt and let some people step in and say something. If they want, I will come back on. Any comments?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said a few very interesting things about the game. I want to understand how this game is played and what is the difference between batting and running, right? And how do you score when you bat, when you run? How long does a bowler have to get someone out? Is it like baseball where you 3 strikes and you're out? Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Okay. The game is played with 11 players per side, per team. And you have 2 umpires. So at and anytime there are only 2 batters, 11 fielders, 2 umpires. Those are the people that can be on the field at any one time. A batter, you can only bat at the end to which the bowler is bowling, right? And every bowler is allowed to bowl now 6 balls, 6 delivery, and then he must stop bowling so that somebody else can bowl at the other end. And that's how it goes. Long ago, it used to be 8 balls. Now it's 6 balls, right? And a batter, if he hits the ball and it hits the fence, it's 4 runs. If he hits it without it's dropping anywhere in the field and goes directly over the fence, that is 6 runs. Okay? But you can get out. Just like baseball, if you're trying to run, to score a run, and you can only score a run after the ball is played or whatever, if the ball is missed or anything, the batters cross, right? They go to the opposite end. Once you complete that once, that is 1 run. If you go there, return, go there 2, 3 times, how many times you cross, that's how the runs are scored. You can score 3, you can score 4, but if you hit the ball to the fence, you don't have to run because it's an automatic 4. If you hit it over the fence, you don't have to run, it's automatic 6. But in order to score any other runs, you must run between the wicket. There are only 3 wickets. We call them stumps. They're in the ground at both ends. And on them, right on top, we have what we call bails. The little pegs that sit on top of the wicket. And if the bowler hits it without the batter even protecting it, that batter is adjudged out. He leaves and another batter would come in. Remember what we said, the team is 11. So in order to get a side out, you have to have 10 wickets per innings. Because you have 2 innings, any game, in order to win a game or what, you must be able to get 20 wickets. If you can't get 20 wickets, you can't win the game.
Liebert, I have a question on that because while I played cricket growing up, I never understood these long days to get teams out. I found the wickets very small because the batsmen, they wear large padding. And while the ball is small enough and hard, has there been any consideration to move it from a 3 to a 4 wicket to at least speed the game up? You see, baseball is trying to speed the game up right now with to make it more interesting to the newer generation. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's something they should consider? Maybe there's a nuance of the game that I never understood because I didn't play it long enough. What are your thoughts about, the wickets being so small with those cricketers wearing these big pads on their leg that they just cover up the wicket. And if you're not doing a spin bowl or wearing them out with a fast, you never get them out. So one guy can take 3 days to get him out.
What a good question. No, it is nothing wrong with the wicket, where that is 3 wickets and it's so narrow. My humble opinion is that certain rules don't make sense to me. Although I played and benefited from some of these rules, because the leg before wicket, that is to say, those with these pads stopping the ball, preventing the ball from hitting the wicket. And they're not adjudged out because the bowler did not pitch the ball in line. He pitched it outside. To me, that is, I don't want to be rude, but that's nonsensical as far as I am concerned now. No matter where you pitch the ball, if it was going to hit the wicket and you block it with your pad, you're out. But now they're saying it was not pitched in line. It was pitched outside the off stump. It was pitched outside the leg stump. And I remember people like the great Colin Cowdrey. It's pitched out there, he pushes the pad outside and blocks it away, even though it's going to hit the wicket. But you couldn't give him out. So this is what I agree with you, that there is something that should be done to quicken the game, is that no matter where that ball is pitched, if it's going to crash into that stump, you should be given out.
So do you think there's enough space between the bat, the leg, for the bowler, these professional bowlers, to get these guys out? If the rules were adjusted that once you block the pad anywhere on the pitch, you're out, you think there's enough space between the bat and the leg going forward for the professional guys to get them out?
There shouldn't be any. The point is that the bowler must be dexterous to get the ball past the bat.
Oh.
That's the point. It must be past the bat. If you can stop the ball with the bat, right, then you're doing the job. But my point is that you should add more rules as to how a batsman can be adjudged out.
Okay.
Because you can only be out bowled, stumped, and stump is that if you play a shot, and if you can see on the screen there, you see 2 lines. One line is in line with the wicket, and the other line is what we call the batting crease. If you are outside of that crease, that is going more to the middle of the pitch, the wicketkeeper or anyone, if they take the bails off, you are out.
If you're outside of it, okay.
Yes, once you're outside of it, you're out. You can also be out caught. If you hit the ball and somebody catches it before it hits the ground, you are out. So those are the ways you can be out caught, you can be out bowled, you can be out leg before, you can be out stump, or you can also be out what we call dragged on. If you hit the ball and it skids off your bat onto the wicket, no matter where you're standing, if that ball hits the stump, you're out. And at the other end, the man who is not facing the ball, he too can be out. Because if you hit the ball, the other batsman hits the ball, and the bowler or anyone touches the ball, and it runs onto the stump at the wickets at the other end, and if that person is not within those lines, that person is out. Because it is deemed that you ran him out. Because you touched the ball, it is as good as if you threw the ball and hit the stump. So that's another way you can be out.
So my last question is, when I might have missed this, when did the Caribbean people started taking on the game? As we talk emancipation, at what point did it become
You mean
a
test cricket?
cultural pastime for the Caribbean blacks?
Well, no one really knew what date they started, but cricket was being played by different clubs in the Caribbean, and predominantly black clubs and predominantly white clubs. It was segregated. Even in Guyana,
Interesting.
it was segregated. Right. You had black clubs or non-white clubs and white clubs. And even representing the country in those days, only the white boys were chosen, even those, a lot of the black players were far better players. They were not selected. Right.
Ebert. Hi, it's Chris. Remember the time when I think I remember when I was in Barbados, there was a time when the West Indies team went to South Africa to play, and the guys and they weren't allowed to play. You remember that?
Well,
The team didn't. I can't remember exactly, but I think I remember they went to South Africa to play, and there was this whole controversy between the players and the West Indian team.
yeah, that is true. But I also remember even worse than that, when they did allow them to play. You might have heard the name going back to a guy from Guyana. He was half Indian, and he went to play with the West Indies team in Australia. His name was John Trim.
Yes.
He was not allowed to sleep in the same hotel with the other white players. He, as a matter of fact, he was given the back of a shop to sleep in the back of a shop. That's how bad it was, because there was apartheid in not only in South Africa, but in Australia and New Zealand.
Yes.
So the black players could have played, but they couldn't go in the hotel. They would tolerate them having lunch with them there, but after that, they don't speak to them.
And then the other thing I didn't really like was when they changed the rules to slow down the West Indian bowlers. And,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and all the bouncers, because they were afraid of how fast we were, you know, and they changed the rules to make it easier for the Englishmen,
Yeah.
you know, and the Australians to be able to play against us, because they were afraid of how fast our guys were bowling the ball and bouncing at their heads, and you know.
They used to call them the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, especially what the fast bowler name, Charlie Griffith.
Yeah, oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the easiest way to get rid of that, they said, oh, he's bowling illegally.
Yeah, that's right.
They kept Charlie Griffith out of cricket for years. His best years, he was
bad bowler.
Oh, he was chucking, he was pelting.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with him. They just were afraid of him.
It's kind of like the same thing like Mark was talking about. I mean, these guys would be standing in front of the wickets, but because they're afraid of our bowlers, they'll be ducking, and you know, so they won't be getting any runs because they'll be afraid to stand their ground.
But that's so easy. Some of them used to get a BLW too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I never played with a helmet. But I noticed these guys, I just come away and these guys are playing with helmets. Oh my God. I faced some bowlers, the ball passed by your ears, you can even hear it whistling.
The helmet and the face mask.
Helmets, and they got chest pads and they got thigh pads, and but the game has changed.
You know, I think Nicole had a question. I heard
Sorry, Nicole.
Yeah.
I've played cricket casually, like, you know, you go on a picnic and you play a game of cricket.
Yeah.
And before I go in front of the wicket, sometimes I'm sure that I'm gonna hit the ball when it's coming. Like I'm telling myself, I will hit that ball. And when I'm standing in front of the wicket, somehow I miss the ball. Is there any tip you have for, you know, being able to hit that ball because it's coming at you fast? And what tip you'd have to give a new player, a beginner?
Timing,
It's called timing.
timing,
It's called
timing.
timing. You have to adjust the speed of the ball coming to you and how quickly you have to react. And until you get those two together, it's not you'd be missing the ball, it'd be past you before you're ready to lift your bat.
Mhm.
That's good. Not only that, but there are other type of bowling, which is a lot of guile, there's a lot of trickery in it. The spin bowlers,
Mhm.
they're able to turn the ball from one side of the pitch to the other side of the pitch. Although it's a slower ball, but you see it drop here and you think it's going to be there, but it's not there before you catch yourself it somewhere else. And those guys are the wizards of the game. And yes, they can embarrass you.
Do you think that cricket is a game that someone can plan for long term, like for a long career? Can someone have a very long career in cricket?
Well, yes. Now, and what makes it that way is that there's a lot of money in the game now.
Mhm.
A lot of money. And I see these guys are playing for $750,000 a year for US. And it's only for a short period of time, 4 months or so. And what that breeds, and more so, it seems in our people in the Caribbean that they are more interested in playing those money games than representing the West Indies.
That's so true. So true.
Yeah,
They retired very early ages. They retired at very early ages. Cricketers
One has to understand that they look at the money and their family. And the main thing is to cultivate them from young, as other countries have done, that yes, you can play your money game, but your nation comes first.
Yeah, it's so
And how
right.
you do that is you have to increase the fees
Mhm.
for the West Indian player while he's playing for the West Indies. He's not going to leave a $750,000 paycheck to come and play for $1,000 a day. He's not going to do it.
And even the ones that don't play for the clubs too. No?
Unless he's committed emotionally to the West Indies.
And Lieber, that's one of the things I always thought too, because for cricket and soccer and and all those things that they play in the West Indies, a lot of professional athletes don't get paid enough.
That's
to be able to do this, as Nicole says, as a career.
That's our downfall.
A lot of them are working in the fields or in a warehouse somewhere that they can leave to go play anytime. So they don't make enough money, and they got to go back and work in a truck or work in the field or work in the thing, and then come back and go play cricket. Whereas these other guys that they're playing against are playing, are practicing 5 days a week, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
As a full-time job.
You are so right. I remember as a little boy, I knew guys from our village, and one was my cousin. This guy was good. But who was he? He was a cane cutter, he was a cane harvester. So he's in that field cutting cane all weekend. Even Sunday when the game is, he goes to the field and he tries to get back by 10 o'clock. He leaves since 5 in the morning. He gets back by 10 o'clock to play. That doesn't happen these days. But yet, that should not happen these days. But yet there are people who have other jobs and playing the game.
Lieber, I have another question as far as the history of the game and to where we are now. It's very evident, two questions, that cricket, which was a national pastime for many Caribbean going back to the, I guess, early 1800s, 1900s, whatever. We've seen it lose its popularity as it relates to the game being played in the Caribbean and compared to other sports. Actually, now we see basketball becoming more of an involved sport behind the soccer and track and field. Maybe you can give some thoughts on what you think contributed to that. And then also, women playing cricket? Do we have ignorantly women playing cricket today? And what has been their participation in terms of the game of cricket, whether by supporting the men that used to play? Do they watch? When I was very young, and do women play cricket today? So those are kind of the two questions: the popularity and the involvement or participation with women. Actually, the women's soccer is going on now, and I'm following the reggae girls, and quite interesting to see the way the women's sport soccer. I couldn't watch it many years ago. Now I'm intrigued by the skill set and how they play. It's very, very good.
Yeah, it's my humble opinion, and I think a lot of people would might agree with me, because cricket in the West Indies, and I'm talking about male cricket at the moment, seem to have lost its glitter.
Yeah, true. So right.
And my humble opinion is that I put it squarely on the shoulders of the administrators, not the players. The players, to my mind, has become disillusioned over the number of years because of the various, it seems like, games the board is playing with them. You're telling a 20-year-old, just make the team or eligible to make the team, that, oh, you can't play, you're not fit. You did not follow the fitness regiment. I mean, which 20-year-old is now fit to play cricket? And what he says, then what should I do? I don't have a niggle. My knee is not bothering me. My back is not bothering me. And you telling me I'm not fit. And then they turn around and they see that the board picks another guy, and they know to their hearts of hearts they're better than that guy.
Politics.
So it's a game you're playing to keep me out so that your friend can be playing.
Politics.
Yeah. And that is one of the things that has caused the West Indies big downfall. That I look at the T20 and I see people like Andre Russell and them, they can't play. They're not interested because you treated them so badly before that they've lost the taste. Yet they go and they play the IPL and they're making millions, and they're tearing up the league there, but I'm interested in the West Indies because how you mistreated them. And I remember Reds Morris sitting down one day. That is when I used to look at the game. I must admit, I don't look at West Indies playing anymore. I read the results.
It's all right.
What am I going to learn? What am I going to, I just read the results the next morning. Don't set up at nights anymore. I remember Reds Murray warned them that the way you are carrying on, you're going to lose a whole generation of cricketers. You have too many restrictions for these young cricketers coming up. Imagine somebody like Itmaya missing a plane. That tells you he's not in, the interest is not there anymore. You know you got to go to Australia, you miss 2 flights. You know you were supposed to do something and says, oh, I can't come, I got to see my family. You have lost them. Hopefully that a new generation will come up with of administrators that can look at the players and encourage them. And speaking about the women cricket, I like watching it because I see more honest players who are doing their darnest to play well and to succeed. Whether they lose or not, you can see the effort. And this...
So there is women cricket then. I don't know, I was just asking. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the West Indies, they're not doing so well at the moment, but they used to be one of the top teams.
Interesting.
Right? At the moment, we have some good players. I have a young lady that is Matthews, she is phenomenal. She makes a whole set of runs and a lot of cricket and gets a lot of wickets when she bowls. But the West Indies has a bad way of always taking the best players and make them captain. Why are you putting the extra strain on them and you have other people who are more knowledgeable in the team that can be captain, but because this is a star player, you make them captain? And as soon as you do that, they start to decline because they got to be thinking about everything. Their head is not just on batting. And they've just done that to Matthews. She's a star player, they make her captain.
Isn't there a female World Cup going on right now for cricket? I think I saw it on TV recently.
Yeah. Very recently, yes.
I think it just finished, right?
Yeah, that's finished. And look at us, the male team, we're out of the T20. Oh boy.
Anyways, guys, sorry I have to leave. I have another event to go to. So good luck, everyone. Enjoy.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
But what do you think about the change in the uniform? Before, when you picked your cricket, you think about white uniform, white hats, and over the years of recently it has been changed to different colors. I'm not even sure of the set color for the West Indian team. What do you think about the uniform?
Just to kind of follow up on that question, because I wanted to ask, why did the color white was chosen as cricket to begin with? So nice question, Nicole.
Thanks.
Maybe you can tie that in.
Yeah.
How did they end up using white, and then maybe go to Nicole's?
Well, white was used because of the long, this is what I was told, because of the long days in the field, the white sort of not attract the heat of the sun
That's right.
that much, right?
Mhm.
I've never wore any other color than white in the game.
Okay.
But with the advent of television, they needed the colors of the uniform so to accentuate the persons and so on. And that's the reason why they're using all these fancy colored uniform. It's for television.
Bert, could you remember about the 3 W's?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Like I said, I met
Weeks, Walker, and Ward.
and Walcott had lived a long time in Guyana.
Yeah.
So I interacted with him a lot. I still remember our interaction when Guyana was choosing its first, we call it schoolboy team. That is the emergence of Kalicharan and them. On. At that time, I was a member of the selecting committee. And Clyde Walcott was there as our advisor. He was advising the committee. He was working then for Booker's, the sugar people. He lived a long time in Guyana before
he did.
he migrated.
Yeah.
And he played, what should I say, the regular cricket, which we call Case Cup, which is first division cricket in Guyana. He played on the same team with two of my friends. So I never played with him or against him, but I knew of people who played with him and against him.
Did you remember when Garfield Sobers make that 360 runs?
I might have heard every word. I remember him, and he's one of the finest cricketers I ever seen in my lifetime.
He was an all-rounder.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And I don't know if you guys would understand Guyanese slang. There was an old Indian man who used to live near to us, and he loved cricket, but he would never call it cricket. He called it ball play.
Mm.
You know what he used to call Sobers? He used to call Sobers Lord God for ball play. I don't know. The Indian man used to make me laugh. He said, Teach, you know, I listen, Lord God for ball play playing today.
Mm-hmm.
Did someone break Brian Lara's record? Because
Man.
he was a good batsman.
Yeah, but Lara is at 400 runs is a lot of runs.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
It's still there, his record?
yeah, the 400 still stands.
Okay.
But that 365 from Sobers was a gem.
That was in the old days. That was when you're watching cricket.
Yeah, yeah.
Could move
That's
from could have moved from under the radio. Oh boy, those were the days.
That was when I would tailor my vacation. Once they're going to play in Guyana, I tailor my vacation
Yeah,
not
yeah.
to work.
Right.
Those 5 or 6 days I'm
Mhm.
at cricket. You know.
But you bring up a good question, Veronica, and that talks about those cricketers that were the champions, if you will, of cricket from the different islands, and particularly as we like to do, to talk about those cricketers that are from the different Caribbean nations, because while they do make up the West Indies team, there were stars, right?
Oh,
From
They were
each,
stars in their own right for their country.
yeah.
I mean, if we go back and we should start thinking then, the first 2 superstars we had in cricket that we could talk about is a Trinidadian, Sir Larry Constantine
yeah.
and Sir George Headley. Those were the what should I say, the nucleus of power cricket for the West Indies.
They paced the way. They paced the way for the rest of cricket.
Definitely, they were the
Yeah, they
pathfinders.
paced the way. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask, there were inter-island competition, wasn't there?
Yes.
What is that cup called?
It started on the
Well,
shell state.
we had Shell Shield,
Yes,
Shell,
yes.
that's
time.
the shell. The Shell Cup, yeah.
and that's the one we remember most. And I'm glad you brought it up, Mark, because it's my humble opinion that once they stopped that, that started the decline of the West Indies team.
So they no longer have it?
No,
No,
no, they have
no, you got people playing for Guyana, belongs to Barbados, and so on, that makes up the team. You don't have that rivalry that, every 2 years,
Before.
Guyana has to face Barbados or face Trinidad, and that is
But why did they stop it? I don't understand.
wiseacres have taken over the management of cricket, and they believe they must follow the Australian model, and you got to play now. They're drafting people to play the CPL league and all of that. If
But
they
is-
were to go back to have
Crazy.
national people who think about their country, and they're going there, you have 11 Barbadians playing 11 Trinidadians. I think that would do a lot for cricket. But in
But
that Barbadian team, you might have 3 Guyanese. In the Trinidadian team, you have 2, God knows. You even have Australians playing in the Caribbean League.
But Liebert, does that go back to what you talked about probably about the not making it as enticing as it once was?
Yes. I think they should find a way to make it more nationalistic.
For sure.
I agree. Competition, it's really
Yeah.
good motivation for the sport. I remember when I was younger, we had inter-secondary competitions among the different secondary.
Caribbean islands.
Yeah, they started with the high schools, secondary schools first, and then after you'd have island by island, and then you have windwards and leewards. So you'd play against it. So that's
Yeah.
what I remember about it growing up.
You're so right. I remember going to school. I'm talking about organized cricket. I'm going to elementary or primary school, as we called it then. And we had inter-school cricket. Say Golden Grove would play against Buxton and so on. And because of that, it was always a rivalry. You want to be the best because you're representing somebody, right? You're representing someplace. When we finished that, we went to high school, secondary school, became more intense. You had inter-high sports, inter-high cricket, inter-high football, inter-high athletics, track and field. And out of these kinds of things, I know that I played with 2 guys. One went on to represent, you got to even say the West Indies, because he played what you call the President's Cup against England. One, and both of them end up captaining Guyana. I mean, I wasn't good enough to do that, but I was their captain. They were good guys. Because it was so structured, as you're saying, that you had from early years, you represented something.
Yeah.
You represented your school. You represented your village. You represented, it's not just pick up, find the best cricketer over from Grenada, bring him to play for Guyana. Find the best cricketer from Trinidad, send him to Jamaica. No.
Well, just to back up a minute, cricket evolved over the years, and I sent a clip to Sharon and Cynthia Reid, the Prime Minister of Barbados, give a lecture at the University of the West Indies on cricket, and I know it was too long to present because it was 2 hours, and they had all the cricket, most of the famous cricketers there. And one thing she said, cricket is in our DNA, Caribbean. It's a culture, it's civilization. And what she was saying, that it was one of the only sports that brought the Caribbean people together. You see, the love of cricket is not just bat and ball. And she said one thing is true, that cricket overcome a lot of racism, segregation, and we stick with it. And what happened now, cricket became the guys started making too much money, and there was no looking to make money. It became more of a business. You get sponsorships. The guys get $4,000 a game, and then they get money for the runs, how many runs they make. So all of these things really lessen cricket. And you said something in the beginning, which is true, and what we said, that the guys don't go to bat, they go to make runs, want to hit sixes, want fast, because they want to hold records, they want to set records. And she said it has to get reformed. We have to start looking at cricket as a part of our DNA and our culture. And right now, West Indies is going through something that people, I mean, lucky to won the game yesterday, they won their match against India.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody's beating upon them, and the majority of the country like to beat the West Indies because of the super, that in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, West Indies was top. So you had Kenai, Gary Sobers, Nurse, you had those heavyweights, and there wasn't no one that could beat the West Indies. So everyone liked now to beat upon the West Indies, more of revenge, and feel good about it. But the caliber of cricketers is not there. And one thing, cricket is very big in Barbados. Cricket is actually one of the biggest sports in Barbados is cricket. And you know, cricket is the second popular game in the world after soccer, because there's more countries in the world that play cricket. Yeah, so it's number 2. And when she said that we have to make cricket solely a business, tourism for cricket, she said we got to build, the Caribbean have to build a whole business around cricket, because it's in our DNA, it's our culture, and we have to develop cricket. And she said she loved cricket all her life, and they have to get the women now back into it. We got women Western cricket for the women. But she said, imagine that you would pay $4,000 to a West Indian cricketer, a man, and pay $400 to the women. And she said that got to stop. The women got to get the equal pay as the men, because the women all over the world, you got the soccer, women get equal pay for soccer, hockey. So West Indies have to start treating the women cricketers the same way they treat the men.
Hey, Nigel, just a quick lever. So who owns, is the selection committee for the West Indian team, is that a private organization? Is it now owned by foreigners? Or isn't it a committee like CARICOM where the Caribbean islands come together and decide? Like, why would they, a group here in the diaspora, see some of the issues? And you're telling me that the people who are involved in this on a day-to-day basis don't see the need that the dying, the sports dying, what
No,
needs to be
no,
done?
no, no, the sport is not dying. The sport is not dying. And,
Oh,
and she,
okay.
and she make it very clear on that speech that the sports is not clear and dying. And because when you look at it, is that she think that the people are not being treated properly, the cricketers, because I believe that West Indian cricket is a private entity. And that's way, and she was very harsh. She said she didn't want to offend anyone, but she said there's no government, no prime minister, or no government cannot run cricket. They got too much things to run, so they can't put the effort into cricket. But something needs to be done. Something needs to be done to get cricket back into the foresight. I mean, cricket is one of the biggest things in Barbados is cricket. You got Jamaica has the track and field, and she spoke about that. The amount of effort that's going to track and field or sports for Jamaica needs that they have to have the same mindset for cricket throughout the Caribbean, because Jamaica takes track and field or even that kind of, and even soccer, but the other Caribbean islands don't take cricket as serious as Jamaica take track and field or even sport as Barbados take cricket. So she said the Caribbean have to start looking at cricket more of serious, have to or not eventually. And if you look and see, most of our cricketers go to Australia, go to now you get the Arabs now pay a lot of money for the guys to come and play cricket. You know, Saudi Arabia, all those places now pay the guys from the Caribbean to come and play cricket. So then they put the effort in traveling to get big money in those countries when the US Indies is not really paying them the money. So, and I will hope that people will get a chance to go to YouTube and see her presentation, because she really said that she wasn't there to offend anyone, but she's speaking frankly that West Indies, cricket West Indies needs to reform and get their act together. And she says it's very serious, because cricket, you gotta look at cricket as a part of tourism. You gotta look at cricket of getting, creating coaches to send abroad, to send to England, to send to the States, Central America, South America. And she said they gotta start looking at cricket on a different level.
You know, guys, I go to Jamaica now, and I went to even Barbados. I did the Caribbean cruise. I don't see the telling sign for me is growing up, everywhere you would walk, you would see people playing cricket. I don't see them playing cricket anymore, man. I see them playing soccer.
Not in Barbados. Cricket every Saturday. They even come over the radio. I mean, on Saturday on Voice of Barbados.
Voice of Barbados, yeah.
You got cricket coming even on Sundays, because cricket is very big in Barbados.
But where are the little pockets of fields and kids playing the sport? I don't see that.
Well,
yeah, that's what he's talking about. Not talking about the professionals. He's talking about
not the organized group like the professionals. The point is that it seems as though that the growth of the game or expanding of the game is not seriously thought of by those in power.
I think so. That's what I think.
Because I go to Guyana, and I remember the days when every village, every state had a cricket pitch.
So true.
Right?
I don't see that
every
anymore.
Saturday and Sunday. The game has got so tight that the last type of games that we were involved in, they were 3-day games. What happens now? every game lasts 20 overs.
Yes, teacher, yes.
They play the game 20 overs, they're going to take a drink.
2020.
And I've been saying, how are you going to develop any guy who learns to bat and he goes there only to bat 9 balls and see if he could hit the ball out the ground?
Yes.
And that's what the rest of countries have done to the West Indies. Nobody realized that they have moved the boundary back 20 yards. They did that. These fields have moved the boundary back. So if you look at the West Indies team, 90% of them are out caught on the boundary. So they're still trying to hit the 6 and the boundary is not there anymore.
That's so true. And that came out as a discussion too on Tuesday night. There's a cricket talk show comes on the radio. And that's one thing they said, which is true. The guy's mentality is just to hit the ball hard to get 6s and realize that the boundary is no longer there. So,
No.
and they start swiping. And then they don't, but cricket in Barbados is very strong. And that's one of the things that Monty wanted to say. She said she said Barbados must be the capital of cricket in the Caribbean, so let it be. Jamaica is the capital for track and field. Let Barbados be the capital for cricket. Because at the end of the day, if Barbados again have 10 men on the West Indies team, I hear you spoke about that. That one thing Barbados had 10 men on the West Indian team and they only play 8.
If the 10 men were good men, that's fine.
Yeah,
But
but
one time Guyana had 8.
yeah, but
Yes.
we'll never be able to compete on the world stage if one country has all the players. It means they're hidden talent. Because if you look at soccer, like I'm an advocate to say Jamaica will never win the World Cup because we're just too small. We're competing against England population of Australia, population of who have a bigger pool of players. How the hell are we gonna compete if even like one of the countries, like all the Caribbean I remember growing up, we used to stuff these milk boxes and hit the edge to make it round and play cricket in the yard. I'm not seeing that anymore. I'm not seeing anybody when you go visit I speak for Jamaica, they're playing the game anymore. And I think all the Caribbean countries need to be able to go back to the love of the sport. That's what I think. I know Jamaica's putting a lot of money into track and field, but that's the look. Right now, if the track and field is the biggest, but Usain Bolt is out and we don't have another star. I mean, come on, we're still competitive. The women track and field athletes, they're getting older. That's only for a time. I just think, and by the way, track and field is an individual sport. The thing about cricket and soccer, those are team sports. They teach young people how to play together. They teach our people how to be respectful of each other, to be team player. We're losing those essence of what team game is. And that's my concern.
And Mark, you're so right, because even in the Prime Minister's speech presentation, when the Indian is in Barbados now playing cricket, and there's no interest in the cricket because the West Indies is going so poorly, that only 600 tickets were sold. And she felt so bad that she told the Minister of Sports to give every school kid 2 tickets, one for Saturday and one for Thursday, just to fill the stands, because the West Indies, the Caribbean people are disillusioned with the West Indies cricket team. They're so bad that nobody wants to go and see them play because all the other countries want to beat up on them, and they're so bad that no one wants to see them. And years ago, in the 70s and the 60s,
couldn't get a ticket, man.
You couldn't even get into the stadium.
Well, I agree, because I remember it had come down to that point where the Ministry of Education had to designate some day for what they call it, school days.
School day, yes.
That was vacated only for school children.
Yes, that That's true. That was happening too in my days.
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
But no, I mean, to be honest, and she's so strongly about the cricket in the Caribbean that she think is a part of management and also the selection group, because it's the same old schoolboys selection and the management of West Indies cricket. And she think that's where the problem is.
Yes, I've heard one guy put it quite plainly. He says the problem with West Indies is that we seem to be recycling failed people.
Yes.
Not only in the game, but I said in management.
Yep.
The same group of people 1 year, this one is chief
Yes.
selector, but he never goes away. He has failed as a chief selector, but he's still on the board and he's influencing. We need to have people who start to think outside the box. How do I develop players with the ambition of wanting to represent the West Indies at all costs? Therefore, I must develop my game to the level that my selection should be unimpeachable.
But one other thing also that is a fact with West Indies, cricket West Indies is that there's it's a business now. It comes more in the time with guys sobers, and that's what she said. We have a commercial that comes through on Barrella's BOB for the love of cricket. Cricket is we thing. That's a commercial that's come on. Cricket is we thing for the love of cricket, and that's because the Prime Minister loved cricket so much that she promoted. We had a Prime Minister before, Owen Arthur, loved cricket so much that he used to go to the intercity cricket, like the interleague cricket, and you see him arguing. People will say, well, make a joke and say the Prime Minister is in the park because he like Empire, this cricket club, and he like his drinks too. And when you go and you see a crowd of men and he arguing, nobody don't believe that he's the Prime Minister because he loved cricket so much, and he's the one that brought the World Cup to Barbados when they had it in Barbados at the time, and it cost Barbados a lot of money. We lost money big times because the West Indies didn't get in the finals, and because the West Indies get in the finals, the numbers wasn't there. But cricket is very, I mean, people just love cricket in Barbados. Every other Caribbean islands, I mean, like they're a lot into soccer, because soccer is, you can recruit the soccer players now and get them to play in England at different leagues, and they're making a lot more money than the cricketers will make. I mean, Jamaica produce some good soccer players, and they're all in England, making tons of money because they see there's no future in cricket. Cricket don't pay, and cricket is too long a game. And boring. So the kids now getting involved on basketball and soccer more so than cricket.
Yes, but let's look at that. Since when is the game boring? Well, the game started to feel boring from the introduction of T20 cricket, where people can go there and get excited in 1 hour. Both sides have batted and they hit the ball 10, 20 times over the fence and they cheer on their left. It has done nothing for the game. Not a single thing to improve the game. If anything, it made that new generation that has come up from the T20 era that can't stand the 5 days of test match.
I don't like the 5 days. I don't like the 5 days, man.
There you go.
But I don't like those 5 days. I need to see a winner. Like
it tells me you want to born a long time.
I'm a 68 baby, man. I can't take that long.
I tell you that.
The 5 days.
I want to see my test matches.
How about baseball? Do you think it's boring when it's more than 1 day also?
Well, baseball, baseball lasts about 3-4 hours and the game is done.
Yeah, but they even speed that up. They speed up the game now.
They change that up now, but let's speak about Test cricket and Marcy the 5 days. But you know, when you get somebody like Simone Nurse or anybody that plays strokes, you go to see a gentleman at the bat, and the amount of strokes and the way how he going to present. You know, one thing that guy Sobers used to free people out, his walk out, his collars up,
Yeah,
and his
yeah.
back, and that alone.
There was a flair to it.
It's a fair to it. And when he get to the stumps and he look around and he pull his collar up and he settle in, people go quiet and walk and just can't wait to see the first delivery that he received. Ever going to be a 4 or 6.
Yeah.
And that's where the fun of cricket, because then when you get a partnership of 50 and you know the guys settle in, you see that this means this is going to be a good partnership. So all of that, as Libra said, is lost in the cricket, because the guy go there and try to make 50 fast, and then they tell you, we made 50 in this amount of minutes. He has a record. He do this. So that's the mindset of the cricketers now, to set records. And you know me.
I have
But
a
I
question.
think too, cricket lost the fact that because cricket I think, was a social game, like how a more social game than golf, because it's played over a period of days. Like golf is played over a period of days, but like Mark said, it's a team sport. And then like, you know, they will come down there and they'll have their tea at 3 o'clock, you know. And so there was not just the people on the field, but the people in the stand.
Yeah.
But that and I think that is lost too, about the people, you know, like they're, you guys are saying now, everyone wants the quick runs.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but you know,
Cricket is going to be a gentleman's game, because even though a guy may get hit with a bouncer or get hit, everybody will run to him and make sure he's okay. Nobody,
Yeah.
people will not, you know, and they want to make sure that. I mean, nobody never bore. I mean, you have guys like Griff and Hall, and when they hit a batsman, they feel bad. They feel so badly that the next ball they will come and maybe try it, because they figure, I'm not here to hit him.
Yeah.
It's just one of those bad balls that got a bad length and he misjudged and got hit.
Just got away from you sometimes.
Yeah, and they feel so badly that, you know what I mean? But now
I have a
Sharon, have a question? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question though, because you know, when we talk about emancipation and the fact that the game was brought to the Caribbean by planters, colonizers, and those even at emancipation, they didn't. They were different clubs created, whether it was in Trinidad or Jamaica and Guyana and Barbados for sure. But you know, you all talked about the love of the game, right? And I question how it became the love of the game when you can and compare that to like football and basketball, as we said before, and baseball, because those became sports in which people could make money, right? There was an opportunity to transport oneself into another space. If there was no Dominican Republic, half the baseball teams wouldn't be existing. You know, the Dominican Republic has produced a lot of great baseball players, right? So you're talking about the money involved in cricket, but we see the same thing reflected in other sports, football, soccer, or baseball and other games. What do you think about that? So I'm wondering if it's the love or an opportunity. Of course, some people love the game, but is it an opportunity also to change one's reality?
Yes, because a lot of them now go up to the Arabs. The Arab countries now play a lot of cricket and they get big money. I mean, they go now to the Far East and they go where the all money is, and they get big money. A lot of the guys go up there and play season cricket. And the West Indies sometimes lose them because they have a contract with the Arab countries, so they cannot break the contract. So therefore, the West Indies have to take less talent, and that also was one of the problems, you know, because it's all money.
Yeah, that it says it all. That in order to bring back the love and respect which the players should have, the Caribbean players, West Indian players should have for the game, the West Indies Cricket Board has to find a way to pay them better.
That's true.
And if you can't pay them better, they will go where they can get the money.
Yes.
It's
And
all
then
right.
they go there and they sign a contract. And now they sign regardless of that the contract will not allow them because they're bound for 10 months and the West Indies got a game in between. They're not going to leave that money to come and play for their best. Sometimes they can't even get out of the contract.
But Liebert, I don't think West Indies can compete with England and Saudi Arabia. There's got to be other incentives. They will never be, huh?
They cannot compete with
in terms of paying. In terms of
Yes.
paying these,
Yeah.
there's no money in cricket. Like I said, if the fundamental of the love of the game isn't brought back to all the Caribbean, where test matches in all the Caribbean are drawing crowds and sponsorships are getting involved, they'll never be able to play these players. Again, because of the, I know Nigel said it's still the biggest sport in Barbados, but I'm saying let me just rephrase it. The popularity of the game in the West Indies is not the same that it was as I remember. I do
Yes.
kind of travel around,
Yeah.
and it's probably still bigger in some of the other Caribbean islands. But more so, I see it in England, Australia, Pakistan. I mean, you go down to Van Horn and you see the Indians playing, the Pakistanis playing the competitive game. You hardly see the Caribbean. I mean, they know we have the West Indian guys, the Caribbean guys that play. So I'm saying is, if the Caribbean doesn't find a way, according to the Prime Minister of Barbados, to get the love back of the game, to bring back the popularity, they'll never be able to pay these players. We just can't.
And you're so true, Mark.
The point is, if you do not create a winning culture,
That's it.
and if that culture, that winning culture is not in the West Indies and you keep losing, you'll never get back the love of the game.
That's true. That's where the problem is now.
That's where the problem is. West Indies has lost so much recently that I'm embarrassed. I had to admit it just now. I don't sit up to watch the game anymore.
Exactly.
I
read
watched
the
one
results,
yesterday.
I read the box score the next day.
I watched one yesterday. I was excited.
Yeah. Where I just put in the chat because I'm gonna, because of work obligation, I think it'd be great coalition if we can the next test match, because there's the nuances of the game I just don't understand, or I forgot because I don't play it anymore. I was a wicket keeper and I remember I was Spider-Man. I would just dive for the ball. You know, it's called me muscle post all over the place. I used to love the game, and I don't watch it because I don't fully understand the rules of the game and how it works. Maybe that's it. So if we could, the next cricket test match, maybe that T20, that's a one-day thing. Let's make it an event at the association, man, and just have a good time and learn, invite people. Maybe as a diaspora, we kind of bring back the fun to the game. And if we can never bring back the popularity to the grassroots, maybe we can start here where people that diaspora, you know what I'm saying? Have the love back for the game and push it out. So a game that was part of our heritage is now lost in many of the Caribbean islands, except Barbados.
But Mark, you're right. When we had the World Series about 3 years ago, the club there in LaSalle used to bring the matches live, and the place will be packed.
Yeah.
Because and who to be there, guys like myself and Lieber that knows cricket and want to see a good cricket match. But then we end up thinking and say, okay, wait till the play against New Zealand, which is a soft team, or the Arabs. I think the Arabs turn around and beat them. So everybody was beating upon them, and then you feel that's because for the love of cricket, I'm going to go and watch them get beaten up. And then you leave feeling badly, but it's also just for the love of cricket, and it's hard because you're right. They don't have the guys now that really take the cricket serious.
And I think that's what we have, the box, so we can pick up all the games.
Yeah.
Just nobody watches it. They're watching all the other stuff's in all the other Caribbean islands. You go there every day, the boxes on Guyana or Barbados or something, but nobody's watching the cricket. So I think
Right,
Sharon just posted the T20 October 16th or around that time. So if we
Mhm.
can do that, man, I would love to have. I think this has been a great portion. I gotta get some sleep, guys. I learned more about cricket in this 1.5 hours than I did for the last 35 years out of Jamaica. 'Cause I'm just, you know, why they wear white and who started the game and the
Right.
nuances of it and where it is. I think this has been a great session for myself, and I would love to sort of get together with all you guys, especially Liebert and Nigel, and kind of really get, because I loved cricket as a kid growing up, and I loved the camaraderie. I loved the. I didn't like when the ball would hit me. The guys, those speed bowlers that come and have to be ducking out of the ball. But I really missed the game, and I'd love to be able to
Yeah.
get the feedback for it.
But you know, there's
Sharon,
a
what
game.
time? What time on the 16th? At what time that game would be?
We will, I gotta check the time because probably around that time is our Heroes Banquet. So we gotta check the time. There's another event on the 13th of November. So we're gonna look at what works best and then send out that invite to invite everybody over.
Okay.
You know, there's a cricket in Barbados called tape ball cricket. And you don't wear pads, the wicketkeeper no pads, the cricketers don't wear any pad. And they play with a white ball, and the white ball is softer.
Oh,
And
good.
that's a very popular cricket in Barbados. I even play at night. And it's called tape ball cricket. And the guys, they don't put on pads, the guys is in white, they wear all white at cricket. And even there is a mixed game. Girls and women and guys play the same game because they don't get the fast bowlers and the ball is a soft ball. But cricket is as Molly said, cricket is in our DNA and cricket is our thing and it's our culture, and we have to make sure to keep it alive. And like she said, she allocated $1 million towards cricket in Barbados to make sure that it don't die. And if she has to put more money, she will. But it's just because she loved cricket and she, from a school girl, she said she loved cricket, so she put the time and money into it. But every other Caribbean islands will do it too. It will also help.
I don't even think my sons know how to spell cricket. I mean, my oldest 33, my last one. But anyway, I don't think any of them, they've never even seen the game. I would certainly bring them on. So let's do that, guys. Have a blessed night. Keep going on the platform, and thank you very much. Liebert, great job, man. And Nigel, presenting this has been great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye, Mark.
Bye.
Yes.
I don't know.
So what-
Maybe if there are any other questions or any
Yeah,
other
I have one
comments.
question, another question. So I learned from what the discussion that the people lose interest in cricket because West Indies are losing a lot, like the West Indian fans, because of politics and because of management. Do you think there's any responsibility on the cricketers themselves, on the West Indian cricketers? Like, do they have any responsibility to losing the game?
Yeah, there would always be responsibility. If you're going to accept to play for a team or for a nation, your utmost responsibility is to do the best you can. I see some of them and the way they play, I almost feel like they don't even care.
Do they practice?
Because you go out there, how in the name of God you go to play T20 and you only bat 9 balls and you're out, you're gone in. You're not trying. You want to hit a 4 to the fence. Hey, 2 doubles are 4-2. If you play 2 balls, you can get 4-2. Study, know the game, what is the situation of the game. You gotta play the game as what the situation calls for at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea about the training regimen of the West Indies team? Because I know I'm asking that because I look at basketball sometimes and I see they have the season where they're always training, constantly training. Do you have an idea how the West Indies go about training? Like,
I don't know. They have a cricket
They have
academy.
coaches. They have coaches.
They have cricket academy. They have coaches that go around to different countries or coaches in every country that work with these people to get them fit and to even teach them the nuances of the game. Yes, there are opportunities for them to improve.
You know, one of the things that the Prime Minister mentioned yesterday, that one of the things that the cricketers doesn't have is discipline. No, she's saying that if you are a basketball player, or you have to follow a diet. We know those cricketers drink a lot of liquor. I mean, and the alcohol and the womanizing. She said, listen, if you want to be an athlete, you have to follow a strict diet, you have to exercise. Because
But Nigel,
the average Caribbean man might like his drink. So when, I mean, at any point in time, she make it very thing. She said you have to have discipline in your diet, your exercise, all of that is a part of the rigid to be a good cricketer. No,
I agree.
but Nigel,
yeah,
but I think that comes back to the fact that these cricketers as athletes don't get paid enough that they will carry, like, you know, if they were paid enough to treat this as a, like you said, basketball or baseball, where these guys have to, or even the track and field that, you know, that Jamaica does right now. You know, these guys go participate in club track, right? Athletics. So that it's their job, and they're getting paid to do it. In the islands, in Barbados, for example, and again, all these, like I was saying before, they don't get paid enough to deal with it. So why are you gonna wait? You know, it's a waste of time for them.
but Chris, just
I understand that they should do it, but you know, they're like, yeah, well, I'm not getting paid enough to do this. I have, like Lieber said, a guy that had to go cut cane on Sunday and then get down to the game the same day. You know,
but no, the guys now get paid decent enough that the problem is that if they do not get selected for the games, I mean, they get $4,000 a game, and the Prime Minister says for some games. So
but
if
that's
they, 1 minute, then if they play enough and they're well enough and they get chance to play in all the series, but someone who's played in England, they play across Europe, and also play for local clubs in Barbados. So,
but the local clubs, sorry, but the local clubs don't pay them enough.
No,
right?
don't
The ones
pay
that
them.
the ones that are playing in England, the ones that are playing in New Zealand, the ones that are playing in wherever, those guys are on the contract, and I'm pretty sure that they're following the strict guidelines by the club to say that, you know, you're an athlete, we're paying you, you're on the contract, you do this and you do that. But the ones that are back home in the island that are playing for the club, for the club cricket, or the ones who are playing for the West Indies, you know, they're not on a contract that to do that. They're not getting paid to be there, so they come in and out. As though the discipline is not there.
What about the great players of the past? Did they get paid all this money to be doing it? They love the game. They didn't
was
in
a lot
spite
of
of not being paid.
That is true. They didn't get paid a lot of money, but there was not a lot of money to be gotten elsewhere.
But that's it.
So that was the problem. They
And now,
stopped because they were not able to say, well, go to Dubai or to go anywhere. Only few cricketers that I knew to were playing in the league in England.
You have to be very good.
Very good.
Yes.
From a country, say Barbados, might have 3 or 4 who are playing in England, and for a short period of time.
Yeah, county cricket.
Yeah, county. They make some money there. Now you got the Pakistan League, you got the Indian League, you got league in Dubai, you have Australian League, you have South African League. So
exactly, and like you said, these guys are not going to be allowed to leave. You know, so some of these countries are not going to allow them to leave to come back and play for the West Indies, and knowing that you're going to be beating them up. They're going to keep them on contract, say that you come here, you stay here.
I might be considered cynical, but I believe that it's a movement where these guys, once the West Indian guys sign contracts, They made sure that they tied them. They couldn't go back to play for the West Indies when they
That's
need
it.
them.
That's what I'm saying.
I could be wrong, but
That's what I
I'm
believe.
suspicious.
I don't think so though, Lieber, because if you look and see that, what's the guy there? There's a guy that grew up in Barbados and he played for the West Indies, and then he left and went to England, and he played in the last World Series. But one of the things, and I think that if anybody sign a contract, they won't want to tie in a person if they know that they're going to come and play for their country. But one of the things is that they get better treatment. So, and they get, as you say, Chris, they might get a personal dietitian, they might get a personal coach.
Yep.
So all of that is a part of the develop the person to be a good cricketer. Now the West Indies cannot afford that type of a luxury, so they group everybody together, and you have a batting coach, you have a fielding coach, but you might not have a dietitian, you might not have a fitness coach, you know what I mean? So the guys will get better treatment when they go aboard, because it's an investment. I invested in you, so I gotta make sure you're in top shape.
But Nigel, even like you're saying, it's an investment, right? Look at track and field. Jamaica treats track and field as the best. All their top, athletes participate in the club athletics in the US, right? It's part of their investment, and they go down there and they all know that when it's time for World Championship or Olympic, all these clubs allow these teams to
They release them.
They release them. Even for basketball, they're released. They're allowed to play, but they don't. That's not the way. It's not. That's the problem that you have in the cricket.
I'm not sure if it's not like that in cricket as well, but I really don't know, because a lot of them will come back and play for the West Indies. But the claim though is management. That's really one of the biggest problems in cricket, West Indies.
Yeah.
And management and the selecting group, because as Lieber says, it's the same old group that recycle, because either it's a business, they invest, because the cricket don't govern by the local governments of the country. I mean, they as the Prime Minister, they can't afford to manage West Indies cricket. So they have their own management group. Now, how they get there, they get selected by, I don't know whoever, players or group of investors or shareholders, but it's that type of shareholders that determine who are the selecting group. So she said that have to change, and that's one of the things that she thinks could be one of the problems is the upper level, but they're poor. I mean, let's face it. Like one guy said on the talk show that half of the West Indian cricketers cannot even play in the leagues in Barbados. They can't even play some of the clubs in Barbados because they won't get paid. So to show you how poor they are. But when you get into club cricket in Barbados, it's serious. I mean, you get the park, this place is full, people, buses, everyone. It's just very competitive. You know what I mean?
Okay. I think we had a good session, and
you did a good job, Lieber.
Yeah.
I allow people to speak freely, and I tell you, I did not expect this kind of participation, but very good. I mean, we should do this thing some other time again.
Yes.
Yes.
But,
Yeah, absolutely. We have those 2 dates that we can also look at. The October to watch the game. I think that's a great idea. Sorry, I interrupted you, Lieber, but we do have that opportunity to continue the conversation, because when we start talking about it, we revive the interest. We learn a lot, as Sharon said. She learned a lot about the game she thought she knew, and I did. I knew nothing about cricket other than some of the things that are obvious. But it's also so interesting to know about the inner workings of the game and what's going on that propels it, right? Or not, right?
Yeah. Just before you go, and this is for the general population listening, and I saw somebody who was on there earlier on, but she just got off. I have not seen Mrs. Wills for a long time.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw she was
Wills,
on.
she was on.
Yes.
Let me say it if she's still listening. Glad to see you.
Mhm.
Anyway, one of the other criticisms that I left for last for the West Indies team is that I believe that these guys are not properly instructed.
Mm.
And when I say that, I mean the players. I know when we were playing, we used to select our bowlers first. And I would say it because we said, you have to get 20 wickets or else you can't win. But I notice our bowlers in the West Indies, they live bowling outside of the off stump. And all they do, they give these guys a chance to extend their arms and hit the ball anywhere. They're not worried about leg before because you're not bowling on the wicket. And if you don't bowl on the wicket, and as I said before, according to the rules, the ball isn't pitch in line, no matter if it hit them, they're not out. So what you're doing, you're helping them. The ways you get out is bowled. If you pitch the ball outside the off stump, you can't bowl them because you can't hit the wicket.
Mm.
Right? You can't get them a leg before. So right away, of all the ways you can get out in the game, you're giving away two things right away and add a third, bold. So you're playing, in other words, with one leg, because you, the bowler, eliminating three ways how you can get the man out. I used to tell my bowlers, do not waste the new ball. Make him play every ball. Why are you bowling way outside the off stump all the time?
Because you want to go fishing and get an edge.
You're hoping then. Then you're hoping. How many times he's gonna get an edge? He's gonna crack you through the offside all the time because you're allowing him to extend his arms.
Yeah.
Make the batsman play every ball. Ball, off stump, middle and off, all the time. He knows if he misses, he's out. He would get caught at slip. He can get caught behind. Why are you eliminating bowling and leg before?
But one of the things though that that's a minute when we go back. By the way, guys, so was 85 or 2 days ago. 85 years old. No, that Gary Sobers. And the Prime Minister, the President of Ghana came to Barbados when they had CARICOM about a year ago. And the first person he wanted to meet was Sir Gary Sobers.
There you go.
And he said, I must meet this man because Ghana wasn't into cricket, but he was studying in England at the time.
Yeah.
And he saw Gary Sobers, they hear about cricket, and he had to meet this legend that's still alive.
Yeah.
So you see,
the legend. Yeah.
You know, and no, but you can't say this about the modern cricketers. The only last one was what? Richards. Richards. But all the others now, there's no legacy that they're leaving behind. None of them never hit 6 sixes. So Gary Sobers hit 6 sixes.
No.
No, they don't have any because they're not the same caliber and quality cricketers had in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s. There's none of them is that caliber. And that's what the guy on the talk comes over that I listened to him on Tuesday, Mason and Guest. The guys just can't, the guys are not really cricketers. They're bat and ball. That's why the Prime Minister cricket is more than bat and ball. Because when you see legends like Sobers and Nurse and Hunt and those, Kenai from Guyana, first boy invent sweeping. The first man that ever went on his knees and sweep a four, and you know what I mean? So we have real good cricketers in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. These guys we have now, they're just playing bat and ball as the Prime Minister. But it was a good discussion, and as you say, it was a good topic. And if anyone get a chance to hear the Prime Minister lecture at University of West Indies. And it like, I know, Libra, you say something about Frank Walker.
Yeah,
Frank Walker, but the Jamaicans wanted to claim Frank Walker because his wife was Jamaican and he spent a lot of time in Jamaica. And he
right.
was also a lecturer at university. So at one point, the Jamaicans were saying he was a Jamaican.
You
Because,
remember they claimed Frank Worrell?
yeah, all I want to claim Frank Walker, but we about now we have the campus, Frank Royal campus at the University of West Indies where the lecture was. And he spent more time just as much time in Jamaica as he spent in Barbados.
Yeah,
And a lot of people, he's one of the gentlemen that changed up cricket West Indies because of the racism. And one of the things that the Prime Minister in the lecture, he didn't want to call himself the captain because he wanted everybody to be on the same level as when he was captain. He didn't want to refer him as captain. He just wanted to refer him as one of the 11.
yeah,
And that show you the quality of the mindset, because once you're a captain, you got this kind of authority. So people said, no, don't refer to me as captain. Just refer to me as one of the 11.
yeah.
You know, and it takes a lot of courage to someone to do that, right? Because you want everybody to be equal.
Mhm. Anyway,
Yeah,
if there's no other question or comments.
But one of the comments made that I heard to someone calling that the West Indies was only formed because England wanted to beat up all the Caribbean islands at the same time.
Well, they had a rude awakening.
Yeah, but I guess, but that's one of the reasons why England claimed everyone to beat the Caribbean, want to beat up all the, and then it turned on them, and we start beating them, people colonialism, start beating them at their own game.
Yeah.
well, this was fabulous, and I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we took the time to talk about it and learn a lot. And I'm gonna put together a proposal for the next, the T20 World Cup. That's gonna be in the end of this year. And then we can choose a date that is best suitable for all of us, and we'll come to the association and we'll
Yes.
watch the game. We'll watch the game together, and we'll have an opportunity to, comment and
Yeah.
further continue the conversation on cricket.
Very good
And
idea.
and what cricket is something that can get very emotional, that people slam the table and walk out. I see you can't buy, and that was a long play. And they got so you got to prepare for those guys that get very
All right.
emotional.
Definitely, definitely.
All right.
Steve, you said-
Um,
Okay,
Sharon, thank you for asking me to get involved in this.
Very
I
welcome.
got involved in something that I loved and played a lot for it with, and to hear people talk so fondly about the game, it is indeed heartening.
yeah.
We
wow.
say that I hope in the not too distant future that the fortunes of my favorite team, the West Indies, be turned around.
Yeah.
So that when I'm talking to Nigel about the game, we will be smiling and laughing, not worrying our soul to death over our West Indies team.
Yeah. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Libra.
Thank you, Libra. Very good, very good. Thank you.
And I want to thank everyone who came in. There's Hazel Cato Perry, Joan Lee, president of WIPCA. There's Marin Liu. There was also Irene Anthony that was here. There was Dorothy Wills and others. Area code 215
I think that's in the US.
in the US. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for coming in and being a part of this conversation. It's great. And this is why we wanted to do these events online, so that people from far and wide can be a part of these events.
Yeah.
These
Yes,
events. So,
great.
yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you.
And that it is taped, it can be run again.
Absolutely. We'll be putting up, sending you all a copy and putting it up on our YouTube channel and other places to let people know that there's still a love, and who knows, maybe some of those individuals in the game will hear our conversation and reflect on what is being said, about the game itself. So thanks, everyone. Glad you all enjoy it and wishing you a fabulous Sunday evening. You take care.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye. Thank you.
Before you go, Sharon, before you go, we have any meetings coming up in the near future?
Oh, yes, we have I'm gonna just stop the recording.
Yes, make the announcement, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, there will be a meeting and I'll stop that.